Look, I heard this dude, this other YouTuber, and he keeps talking about this stuff called scizmogenesis. All right, scizmogenesis is kind of like this way that they cause strife and pain and stress on you, which cause you to go autistic, schizophrenic, just break down mentally. And it's like gang stalking is meant to cause scizmogenesis. And it comes from this thing called Willy Lynch. The Willy Lynch papers, they're like from 1665 or 1750 or something like that. Look, dude, hey, forgive me if I don't remember the dates. But look, you can, anything I'm saying, you can always look up and see if I'm lying or not. And the Willy Lynch papers, legit. This dude came over here from the Caribbean to teach the American government how to keep the slaves in line. And it was from this kind of like ordo ab chaos, the young versus the old, the light skin versus the dark skin, the black versus the white, the man versus the woman. It's kind of like a reverse. It's kind of like the reverse of the order of things, man. And it's meant to cause like brain damage or arrested development, so to speak, but not just a single person. The fact that the population is Willy lynched, it helps. They gang stalk, and the gang stalk can cause this scizmogenesis type of a deal. Anyway, the gang stalking, the Willy lynchism, and the scizmogenesis are all like, look, they overlap, and they kind of reinforce and back up one another. And I see personally that they still are using, look, this guy Kevin Sanders, for instance, and he talks about who's a high value man, a high value woman. That is the Willy Lynch right there. It's turned the young against the old. See, all they did was use that old schematic of the light skin versus the dark skin, young versus old, man versus woman. And they also added a Hinduist type, Brahmin type, like he considers himself Brahmin. It's a caste system. America already had a caste system with low class, middle class, and high class. But see, the real objective was, look, in a way it's kind of like, look, they show you, look, this guy came from poverty, man, and now he's a freaking football player and he makes $10 million a year, and it sells the idea that it's possible for you, that it's Willy lynchism, it's caste system, it's classism, it causes scizmogenesis, because there's a lot of people that are gonna strive towards becoming this figure, this established figure, and make these big figures, but only 1 out of 10, no, 1 out of 100 makes it, no, or 1 out of 1,000 actually. But they want to, that's the dream. They're selling you the American dream, like Scarface. It's the same thing with the drug dealers. Oh, I'm gonna make it long enough where I can do all this dirt and retire without really facing the repercussions of my actions. And it's like, look, I mean, I don't know, man. It's complicated, but Willy lynchism, scizmogenesis, gang stalking. It's like, all right, if you're the top dope D-boy on the block, you're gonna have gang stalkers, but it's gonna be gang members, because look, they kill each other just like the mafia. The underboss sometimes smokes the freaking upper boss and takes his position. But it's really it's a triple cross, man, like on the Joker, man, or Batman, the first one, where the Joker, he makes them all rob the bank, and each guy, one guy brings a bag to the next guy. That guy says, he says, takes him out, and then the next guy grabs a bag. He takes the next guy, and the next guy goes, takes the bag. Then he gets to Joker, and Joker goes, takes the bag. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that is a perfect, in plain sight disclosure of what their plan is with the Willie Lynch, with the crab in a bucket, with the dog eat dog, with the left and right paradigm, with the cowboys versus Indians, the cops versus robbers, the Democrat versus the Republican, the patriot versus the deserter. I mean, they never even said that. The patriot versus the homegrown terrorist who rejects the statism. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Protestantism versus Methodism, or non-denominational versus Catholic, or Jew versus Gentile, which is Muslim versus Jew, Muslim versus Gentile. Like, look, it's the same Willie Lynch that is causing the scizmogenesis. And I even think to be initiated into the cult and then rejected by the cult. See, this society has been fueled off rejection, and they use the spirit of rejection to keep everybody in line out of fear of not being part of the cool kid crowd. That is the cult mentality. But look, that is the mentality I was brainwashed to live in as a youngster, and through the music and through school, basically. But look, I've grown beyond it, and now I kind of can bridge gaps and be a kind of a throwback that can see beyond the trickery, the technology, the brainwashing, the social engineering, the programming that keeps us all stuck in the same cycles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really necessarily racist. If anything, you say I'm equally discriminatory against everybody for different reasons, but that doesn't mean I'm a racist or discriminatory. It just means I'm being real about it. I'm calling a spade in each circumstance, because I can see that there's not just like, look, a lot of people want to look it even weird with the Willie Lynch. They make it black or white. That's how narcissists think. Black or white thinking, magical thinking. And it's like they make it a black and white thing when it's like you don't even acknowledge like Arab people, Asian people, or Native American people. You don't even acknowledge it at all. Like, all you do is kind of some kind of replacement theology and still turn it into a black and white thing, which is ridiculous. But I understand why, because you're under the Willie Lynch programming. It's part of the Willie Lynch. It's also part of the scientifically engineered caste system, the class system, the haves versus the have-nots. There's another one. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, you got the ghetto, the suburbs versus the rural. Like, look, that is Willie Lynchism. That's the same thing. Young versus the old, man versus the woman, the half-breed versus the full-blood. You use every single kind of divisive tactic. It's the same thing in churchianity, which is kind of a perverted ideological, political version of Christianity, a masquerading Christianity that they use to divide us against one another, and we're just as sectarian as the Muslims. You know what I'm saying? And they want to bring in this universalism, which is the fusion of the Muslims and the Jews and the freaking Arabs. But you also have Mormons, but they have a real radical kind of freaking belief. But if you read their doctrine, it sounds the same as the Muslims' doctrine. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's weird. It's weird. It's really tricky. It's complicated. But they use these petty kind of differences to turn us against one another. And they want us to mutually assured destruction. And when they don't even choose a side, but they're like pushing the engineering programming for us to like walk in these kind of like ways, and they know that eventually it'll cause some kind of scizmogenesis. And even I seen a dude talk about a video where dudes from the same gang had a kind of schism. A schism means split. And they came from the same gang originally, but because they split, these guys became venerate enemies. And it even says this in the Indian literature, in the history, Native American, not Indian. Listen, when I say Indian, I don't mean nothing about India. Who in the heck's India? They're on some other stuff. I'm talking about Indians from America. All right? And it's like you would have fusion of the tribes, but after 10, 20, 30 years, they would remember their cutthroat, murderous like wars against one another, and then they would have a new renewed campaign to fight again over previous blood feuds, man. And I don't know, man. And I can see the same patterns. We're into such a time where all of us are, like even me being an Indian. Look, that was 100 years ago, 120, 200 years ago, 300 years ago that they did this. But look, I know the history of it. And so it's not so far, we're not so far detached from it. You could even look at the 12 tribes in Israel in the Bible, not anything they talking about mainstream, lamestream right now. But look, if you study enough, you'll see there was always a left-right paradigm used to willy lynch people from the beginning of time. Even Adam and Eve. Like when Adam blamed Eve, even though he did the same thing, so he fell for the same bait, but he did it second. He should, look, after she did it, he should have been like, hey, nah, I ain't even F on that. I want to do that. But instead, he was like, he passed the buck. You know what I'm saying? But without taking accountability that, yes, he was deceived. For surely our fathers inherited lies. And listen, this all ties into the Willie Lynch, to the scizmogenesis, to the gang stalking. This is part of the reason of gang stalking, is to cause us a scizmogenesis. And believe me, I've been pushed to the point where I almost schismoed out myself through the gang stalking. And look, that's just the personal gang stalking I was going through. I already went through the indoctrination, the ideology of the Willie Lynch my entire life, which made me susceptible to the scizmogenesis, to the frickin' blood versus crip, to the Republican versus Democrat, to the cowboy and Indian, to the frickin' cops and robbers. You know what I'm saying? To the barbarian versus citizen. The patriot versus the terrorist. Now the patriots have long hair like me, and they look like terrorists, but they're not. So, and that was the initial reason they did this, was to muddy the water so you could tell nobody apart. Everybody was so ordo ab ko. Whoa. W-O-E, whoa, war on everybody. You know what I'm saying? And look, we're living it, dude. And if you can't see it, either you're sheltered, you're naive, ignorant, or in denial. And it says, there some will be willingly ignorant of the truth. I'm not sure if that's in Isaiah, it says it. But look, somewhere in the Bible it says there will be those that will be willingly ignorant of the truth. And look, dude, because look, it's like, it's okay to be ignorant, kind of, but there's a point where it's bad to be ignorant, because you've had ample opportunities to learn and see and figure it out and catch on for yourself.